Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kavutskiy here for Chess.com, and today I wanted to show you guys a fragment from one of my recent games that I thought was pretty instructive. Black has just played the move here, bishop c5, creating a threat against my bishop on g1. So before we look for any moves here, I just want you guys to take a minute and try to evaluate the position. Okay, so if you want more time, obviously you should pause the video and keep thinking about what exactly is going on here, but we will move on. So it's pretty complicated what's going on here. I mean, both kings are kind of exposed. The pieces are arranged in a not very standard fashion. And a lot of pawns have been traded, which means that the board is quite open. So who's better? Well, I think that white here is definitely better because of these two pawns on e5 and f5. Right? They sort of give my king some shelter from any attack from black's heavy pieces. And if I can advance them, one more step to the 6th rank, I can use them to create threats against the enemy king. And they're also restricting some of my enemy's pieces. For example, this knight on f8 can't really get into the game because of these pawns. So because of that, I think white definitely has a clear advantage here. So I played this move, king g2, and this pretty much forces black to start trading pieces on g1. So he played rook takes g1, and bishop takes g1. So now that we've traded a few pieces, the situation has definitely changed because the board is still completely open, and with less pieces, my king has much less cover, right? If black can get his queen in through b6 and c5 and bring his rook in, then, my king might end up in some serious danger. And it's certainly not clear whether white stands better. If I play a simple move like king takes g1, it's possible that black might organize some kind of defense or some kind of counterattack. For example, king takes g1, he can play queen a7 check. My king has to move, and now maybe rook g7. Right, and already it's kind of uncomfortable for white. My queen is under attack. If I move my queen, I have to deal with some kind of check on g1. And if I play rook g4, well then after we trade rooks, the reduced material makes it much easier for black to have some kind of counter chance. Maybe they can play queen e3 or queen c5, attacking my pawn and trying to go for some kind of perpetual check against my king. So all in all, it's definitely unclear, concretely whether white has an advantage here. In realizing this, I knew I had to look for some kind of tactical opportunity to immediately get at black's king. And because of that, when I had played this move here, king g2, I had already prepared a surprise for my opponent. I had foreseen a move that I thought would give me very good winning chances and not allow my opponent to get any counterplay. So after he took on g1, I played this move here, knight e4, threatening this check on d6, after which black's king would be in really bad shape. It's technically an in-between move, right? Instead of making the obvious capture, king takes g1 and keeping material equal, I'm temporarily sacrificing a piece to make a different threat. And I think this move is very hard to find because it's not so obvious. It's not like the knight moves and I attack his queen or I threaten checkmate in one move. It's not exactly clear what I'm going to get after knight d6 check. The king moves away and then what, right? Which makes this move very hard to find. But once you see the move and you start calculating variations, I think it's not hard to justify to yourself that this is in fact the right decision. And when trying to evaluate, how strong this move is, you definitely have to place calculation above all else, right? You can only sort of evaluate it on superficial considerations for so long. Eventually you have to buckle down and start calculating lines. If he does this, I'm going to do this, and then what happens? And then he might do this, and then I'll do this, and then, oh, I have mate, or so on and so forth. But it has to be very concrete. So here the first thing to notice is that, you want to look for a way that black can both save his bishop and stop this check on d6, which seems very dangerous because after the king moves, I might play something like queen g8, and black won't really be able to save this knight. For example, bishop b6. Alright, black keeps his extra piece, so white definitely has to justify the sacrifice now. So knight d6 check, and if king e7, I have queen g7 check. And king has to go to d8, I take this knight, and white wins the queen. Right? Or even better, after queen takes f8, king d7, queen f7 check, king d8, queen e8, white gets mate. Right? So that variation shows that black's king is in a lot of danger. And if you had played king d8 here, then white just plays queen g8. And there's no way to defend this knight. And black is in serious trouble. Again, if king e7, queen f7 check, and queen e8 mate, white wins. So finding this mating net, you sort of get excited, and then you start to realize that since knight d6 check is such a huge threat, then you probably have something here with this in between move knight e4. And the thing to realize here is that if black does defend against this check, right, then the next move we can probably just take their bishop, and well, we've improved the position of our knight, which has to be good. It's definitely better than just taking the bishop immediately. And if you guys want, you can work out all the variations for yourself, but indeed white is winning in all the lines. And now I'll just show you how the game went. So black played queen a7, and this is a really tricky defense, because now after knight d6 check, king d8, if white just plays queen g8 without paying attention to what his opponent is going to do, then white would actually lose after rook g7 check, winning the queen. So this queen a7 move is very tricky. It defends the bishop and prepares this check on g7. But fortunately, I had already seen that I have a different way of creating a threat against the black king. And, the reason this whole tactic works is because the knight on d6 is so strong. It is controlling the c8 square, which is the escape square, and also controlling some other important squares around the king, like e8 and f7. So the right move here is queen g5 check. And now if the king comes up, then queen g7, and queen takes f8, and white will mate. And if rook g7, then a very strong move, queen f6. This rook is pinned, so he can't move, and this knight is under attack. And, again, if I win back my piece and I have this knight on d6, odds are white's going to be completely winning with this crushing attack. So black played the most reasonable move, knight h7, and now queen h8 check, queen c8 check, king b6, now the accurate queen d8 check. And black is losing a significant amount of material or getting mated. For example, if king c5, white has this very nice checkmate. Knight b7 check, and then no matter what black does, b4 mate. And then if rook c7, if nothing else, I have knight c8, winning the queen. And finally, after queen c7, I can simply either play knight c8 check, winning the rook, or take the rook immediately. And after knight c8 check and knight takes d7, white has a completely winning endgame with these two strong pawns. So the lesson I want you guys to take away here is that you should constantly look for tactical opportunities in every position. Okay, in this position, I think, 99% of players would take the bishop without without even speculating about some other opportunity that they might have, or a stronger move that they can play rather than, taking this free piece. So with that, I just want to remind you guys to always look out for tactical opportunities and never make any move automatically without first looking out for any resources that you or your opponent may have. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on Chess.com.